Okay, so now I am in Microsoft Word and I'm going into layer 7. And layer 7 is another proofreading layer, but we're going to do a few other things in this layer as well. I am in Microsoft Word, okay, and I have also saved what I call an ebook template. And the reason I save the template is because I don't want to have to change all of these styles every time I want to do an ebook because it's a pain in the neck. Plus, by having a template, I can choose my branding so that, in other words, all of my books will look very similar because I'm using the same styles on each one. That's another reason to use a template. So the only thing that's different about the template usually is the layout and the margins. So click on the layout tab and then click on margins and come down to custom margins. And on the margin tab, these are the numbers you want to use. I'm not going to read them out. You can just take a snapshot of this. I have other videos on formatting as well. And this should be whole document because in an ebook, it's being set up for easy flow, they call it, where it's just, one page flows after the other, the chapters flow after the last page, and there's no real formatting. And then for the paper size, I just use the default size, okay, the whole document. And then the layout, the section start should be set to new page. And because we're not going to be using headers or footers, I just have the header and footer set to 0.5 inch. Its vertical alignment is top, and this is also a whole document. And then you just click OK. And so now it's all set up. And then once you choose all of your styles, then you can save this document as your own template. I save my template onto my desktop so I can find it easily. Now, another thing I just want to mention, and this is so that you have a successful experience with formatting. When you upload to at least Amazon.com, and this could be true of other sites as well, it is pulling in your Microsoft document, but behind the scenes, it is translating it into EPUB language, which is a computer language. And so every time you have a new style, it's important for you to use a style that you have created. And the reason that is because every time you come over here and just change this and change the size and whatever, then it's just another opportunity for something to go wrong. Whereas when it pulls in this box of styles, it's going to create what's called a style sheet, which is used on the internet all the time. So try to create styles that you're going to use in all of your books. And I will show you what I mean right now. Let's go down to the acknowledgments here. Okay, so here is my page, Other Books by R. Shannon. Okay, so this spacing here is much different than the spacing I use in my normal style for my paragraphs. So for this, I created a style called list paragraph, and that creates this. So I make sure that I use that style for all of these lists. Okay. Now, this is also a book page that I might or might not want in the table of contents. So rather than coming over here and creating a style that looks like my page titles, I create a style that says page title. So what this means is it duplicates the style of my chapter headers, but it doesn't set it up to go on the table of contents. So that's a tip I'm giving you about setting your book up for a good experience in uploading it to any of these websites. So let me go back to layer 7. This is another proofreading layer. So you're going to make sure that all of your chapter 1s are set up as heading 1s, because that's going to work in coordination with the table of contents. For example, if you have all of your chapters set up as H1s, but you forget chapter 6 and 7, chapter 6 and 7 are not going to be listed in the table of contents. So it's important for you to make sure that you set these up as H1. Now let's talk about the first paragraph after the chapter header. It used to be pretty customary that people would like to use the drop caps, but let me give you the backstory on the drop caps and eBooks. When you upload a Word document, behind the scenes, it is translating it automatically, probably using some form of AI, into an EPUB, which is computer coding. And so every time you do something unusual, you're opening the door to having a problem with the formatting. And the reason that is because the ebooks are all set up in what they call easy flow. And what that means is that as you are uploading the book, it's really sucking the book up one paragraph at a time. And then when the person purchases your book and they download it, it downloads like you would pour iced tea out of a pitcher. It just pours it into their e-reader one paragraph at a time. That's what easy flow looks like. So anytime you do anything fancy dancy, you're opening the door to having a problem. Now, the big publishing houses probably have experts in their formatting department that know all about this, and they know how to prevent all of that from happening. But if you don't know them personally or can't call them on the phone to ask them, you're going to be left to your own devices. So you can use the initial caps like this, uppercase, as the way to introduce the paragraph. This is actually too many words here. Let's fix this. Sentence case. Okay. You could do the first 3. That's what I do, because on top of it being easy flow, once a person downloads your book in an EPUB format, on their e-reader, wherever they're reading, they have the ability to change the size of the font, the style of the font. They can now choose style packages. They can also change the color of the background. So because they have all of those options, the drop cap can be very tricky. So I don't use the drop cap anymore. At least I don't in eBooks. So I'm just leaving you with that caution. It's better to have a slightly different approach. You can just forget it altogether, or I think this is a second alternative, is just use uppercase on the first couple of words. Now, a little bit about this too. Instead of just using the normal and backspacing or whatever else you want to do for each one of these, you have to create a style. Now, I use the style normal no indent. I'm not going to go into how to do the style because I have lots of videos on formatting and they go into all kinds of detail. I don't want to bore you with that here. We're just learning what to do in layer 7. So just set up your chapters the way you want them to be. So this, when you first pull it in, these will have asterisks, let's say. And I have these symbols saved on some other HTML list that I keep. But anyway, whatever symbol you want to use, you can set this up to find and replace, and that is Control H, I believe. Yeah, you would put in the asterisk, and then you would copy and paste in what you want to replace it with, and then click on Replace All, and it would replace all of your asterisks with whatever other symbols you want to use. So once you go through your full list of troublesome words and you change out all of your chapter headers and your chapter endings, and you read it through again. This time you're acting as if you are the line editor. Okay, you're watching for any mistakes that pop up. You're listening for how it sounds. Okay, and so once you're done, then you are now ready to go into the final layer, which is level 8, layer 8. Okay, so now it's time for level 8. This is the final layer. This is the book Betrayal. And just as a tip, I still keep a note to myself where I am with the proofreading. I mean, it's the holidays right now as I make this video. And so sometimes I will step away for a day or two, and I can't rely on my memory anymore to remember exactly what I did. So I just keep a note here. Now, as you can see over here, it has pulled up all of the heading ones automatically because they're all in H1. So in this layer 8, this is the final proofread. And what you want to check in this layer is to make sure that you have all of the other pages, like the copyright page. Sometimes I have a character list, sometimes I don't. I haven't run the table of contents yet. Okay, note to reader, about the author, acknowledgments. Okay, I haven't put these in. I'm still in the process of proofreading on this layer myself. So anyway, at this point, after you know you have all of your pages, what you want to do is use the Read Aloud feature. Now, I do subscribe to Microsoft 365 because I use it all the time. And I don't know if this feature is in just your regular Microsoft Word, but if it isn't, I believe that they have other tools on the internet where you can feed something in and have it read back to you. So you might have to, search around and find some alternative if you don't have Microsoft 365. But in any event, I pull the book up and let's go to chapter 1 here. And then I just start. And by the way, I always think when I reach this point that I've gotten all the mistakes. I'm very confident as I go into layer 8. But as it turns out, I always find more mistakes during this last 8th layer. So here I'm going to click on review, and here is the read aloud section. I'll give you a little taste of it. The line moved slowly as Stefan baby-stepped his way past the last boarding gate in Romania. While inching his way along the air tunnel, he avoided as much eye contact with fellow passengers as possible. Okay, I'm not going to let it go on and on, but you get the point. But anyway, I read along as it's being read out loud. And what I have found is that sometimes it's not mistakes that I change, but I change something because I don't like the way the two sentences connect, or doesn't sound right to me. So I will go in and I will change it at that point. So I find this last step as very, very helpful. Now, in this read aloud, what you can do is you can change the reading speed in case you want to do this layer once or twice. You can switch between male and female. I believe that there are some advanced ways of adding more voices to it, but for my purposes, just to hear the words as I'm reading along with it, male or female is fine. It's perfectly fine. And so what I do is I go through the book and I listen to it as I read, and sure enough, I always find a couple of words that snuck through, and luckily I get to change them. So at this point, you will be ready to send these manuscript off to the editor. And at that point, when it comes back, you'll be making corrections. And if you want, sometimes what I do is I send it to myself so I can read it on my Kindle to see how it reads from a download, because that's the shape it's going to be in when the reader gets it. And then at that point, it's ready to either publish or be put up for a pre-order. In any event, I hope that you enjoyed the video. And if you learned anything or you liked the video, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. and I'll see you in the next video.